Climate change is affecting all of humanity in a variety of different forms. Not everybody understands the effects that climate change has on all of our lives in the very same way. So the role of a knowledge worker very much happens where a knowledge worker is capable or able to translate one person's reality to another person's solution to a problem.
I'd say one of the first challenges is the complexity of the information, but I'd say that is slowly changing. So there is a simplification of certain concepts that people may have seen as too scientific.
I think that the need stems from not too little information, but so much information on a large number of areas that it almost becomes difficult to navigate and can feel overwhelming. And so the real task at hand now is to figure out how to share this information in a way that you make best use of resources, but also get the information in a tailored way to the right people.
Well, I have the honor of being part of the team that brings the world the REEEP clean energy management software. You know, in the process of developing and promoting that software, which is used by people all over the world, it provides very practical and concrete solutions to transitioning to clean energy. It helps people make decisions on how to move to clean energy. So it's not just about information and knowledge, but it's about information and knowledge that can lead to real, tangible, practical change towards mitigating climate change.
Well, I use a number of tools. Some of them are online tools, some of them are physical tools. And the end result of this has been that we have seen evidence-based policy making, especially in the East African region.
In Kenya here, the communities who are really feeling the pain are the ones staying in the arid regions. And what's happening is we are trying to come up with best practices on climate change adaptation, so that we share this knowledge that can be replicated among other communities.
The other barrier I'd say there is in terms of the sensitivity of some of the material that we come across. So, you know, we work with governments, and sometimes governments deem any of their policies and positions to be a bit sensitive. So sometimes getting information on that is a bit hard.
So women are disproportionately affected by climate change in many, many instances. They are primarily the caretakers in societies. They are the subsistence farmers, so they're responsible for growing crops to feed their families. That also means that they tend to be more knowledgeable about the nutritional value of plants, and yet in many countries they are not able to own land, access land, benefit from land. If their crop gets wiped out, they don't have access to financial services credit to be able to borrow money to replant. So when effects of climate change happen, they tend to be the ones that are on the front lines.
The one thing that I would identify immediately that is missing is transparency. Transparency, because a lot of the climate change discussion is happening at a very high level. It is happening at a political, at a global level. Very little or too little of that is translated back into the households, into families, where we are discussing how this climate change, this monster of climate change, is affecting us every single day. It is also missing a little bit of transparency on what industry is doing on climate change. What we call the private sector is on the one hand responsible for a lot of the effects of climate change, but on the other hand addressing a lot of the solutions, or providing a lot of the solutions.
Face-to-face interaction is fairly important, quite important actually, and it goes that extra mile in building that relationship.
And at least from the feedback that we get from the users, actually they keep asking for more, because they know that from the sources where we get the information is credible, it's original information, and most of it is based on experiences.
So one really interesting example that comes from Uganda that I recently heard from my colleague was that they were trying to figure out ways to get information about agricultural extension services to farmers, both women farmers and men farmers. And what they found doing some stakeholder analysis and talking to different women and men is that the men in the area were controlling what got heard on the radio, and they were the ones that owned the radios and that had the radios. And so sharing information about agricultural services on the radio was only getting to men. the best, most effective way to get this information to women was to write it in the back of their children's school notebooks, because that's where they would look for it, that's what they had access to, and that's where they would know to find out information.
Because knowledge brokering is all about the networks. Who do you know, and how well connected are you to them to be able to reach out at a time when you need, let's say, further information, or you need some questions answered.
First of all, don't be afraid to identify yourself as a knowledge broker. You don't have to be a scientist, you don't have to be driven by data or by the facts of hard science. That is the one thing that I would say to anybody who wants to join the conversation on climate change. Don't be afraid, speak your mind at any time, join a group of like-minded people, and you will see that some of the doubts that you might have had about what it is that you've already been doing in your career, in your life outside of work, has to do with the conversation on climate change, because it's a conversation of humanity.